it down.
It is 4:30 p.m. on Tuesday, July 6th, 2021. We'll go ahead and call the City Council meeting of the City of New Ulm to order. Item number 1, consent agenda. Councilors, what are your wishes?
I'll offer a motion to approve the consent agenda items.
Second.
Motion and a second. Any more discussion? Those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Motion carries. Item number 2.1, variance request by Margaret Manderfeld.
Do we have a staff
Our
report?
our
There we
assistant,
are.
there he is.
There they are.
Hi, John.
Sorry about that. I was directing traffic in the hallway. Good evening, Council President, Councilors. John Nisley, planner with the City of New Ulm. This first variance request is by Margaret Manderfeld to consider the allowance of the construction of a 10 by 12 foot garden shed to be located 2 feet from the rear or south property line. The Planning Commission at their June 24th, 2021 meeting unanimously recommended approval of the variance request with one condition. To provide a little overview, the property owner is proposing to construct a 10 by 12 foot long detached garden shed 2 feet from the south property line or the rear property line. The property currently has a 6 by 10 foot garden shed located in the southeast corner of the property. That is approximately 2 feet from the east or side property line, and then 2 feet from the south or rear property line. The applicant is proposing to place the new garden shed in the same general location as the existing garden shed, but to go 5 feet off of that side property line and meet the side property line setback, but remain 2 feet from the rear property line where the current shed is located. The one condition that was recommended by the Planning Commission is the applicant shall locate the property boundaries, excuse me, and verify the garden shed on the site with city staff prior to placement of the structure. Should be noted that there are 7 questions asked on the backside of the variance application that the applicant has to respond to. And one of those questions asks about the unique circumstances to the property that would allow for a variance to be granted. There aren't any unique circumstances related to this property. It's a half of a corner lot, but then again, it would still be consistent with the city's comprehensive plan, and it would not change the essential character of the neighborhood. And that would conclude the staff report.
Mr. Nisley?
I'm going to just add from the Planning Commission meeting, unanimously recommended approval of this. If you look in your packet on the pictures there's a concrete, like a retaining wall there that the neighbor has. The neighbors had no issues with it. The current shed is 2 feet off there currently, and she maintains that hedge, and and it gives her access to go around to do maintenance around her current shed. So we recommended approval of it. Just the shed was existing there when she purchased the home, and it just it's she's outgrown that shed.
So you're offering the motion?
I'll offer a motion to approve the request of Margaret Manderfeld to allow the construction of a 10 by 12 garden shed to be located 2 feet from the rear south property line.
Second.
Motion and a second. Any more discussion? Those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Motion carries. Item number 2.2, variance request by Mike Krull on behalf of Tim Conroy.
Okay, this variance request is to allow the construction of a 14 by 30 foot garage addition to be constructed 5 feet from the side or south property line. Again, at their June 24th, 2021 meeting, the Planning Commission unanimously recommended approval of the variance request with one condition. So for this project, the property owner is proposing to construct this 14 by 30 foot long attached garage 5 feet from the south property line. The property currently has a single stall garage with a concrete pad located on the south side of the residence. The applicant is proposing to construct this garage addition over the existing concrete pad. The existing residence located on this property is approximately 19 feet from the side property line currently. The one recommended condition was that the applicant shall locate the property boundaries and verify the location of the proposed garage addition on the site with city staff prior to the placement of the structure. And it should be noted that city staff has been up there with the applicant already and located all the property boundaries. Again, like the previous variance, there is nothing unique about this site specifically, nothing with topography or water or anything like that on the landscape. But it too is consistent with the comprehensive plan, and the project would not change the essential character of the neighborhood. And that would conclude the staff report.
You know, one comment I want to make on this type of variance, I used to live up in the Highland area. So many homes were built before the 1969 ordinance was adopted. To me, it's almost a nuisance to some of these people. Their houses, garages, they're already at 5 feet, and we have to come in for a variance to continue. So we've given out many of these up there. I don't have any issue with it. Motion to approve the request by Mike Kroll on behalf of Tim Conroy to allow the construction of a 14 by 30 garage addition to be constructed 5 feet from the side south property line.
Second.
Motion and a second. Any more discussion? Those in favor say aye.
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 Motion carries. Item number 2.3, variance request to New Ulm Park and Rec.
Okay.
Before you begin, John, I just want to say that I will not be taking part in this vote because of my connection with Turner Hall and the gymnastics program.
Okay. In front of you, the proposed action here is that to approve or deny the request by Chris Dalton on behalf of New Ulm Park and Recreation Department to allow an additional 185 square feet of exterior signage to the newly constructed recreation center addition for a total of 700 square feet of signage on the property. So we have one motion to approve that and one motion to deny that. There is a third option to approve the request to allow the additional 185 square feet of signage to the newly constructed recreation center for a total of 302 square feet of signage on the property. Now, the big difference there is a large majority of the signage on that property that exists today is the Vogel Fieldhouse sign that is located on the north side of the building and facing Center Street. One option the Planning Commission wanted to consider was that if that sign were to be painted over and then they were to put up a new sign that said Vogel Fieldhouse that would match the new signage that's placed on the recreation center, that will lower the total amount of square footage of signage that would be needed on that property significantly. So from 700 to 302. And we are estimating that new signage, if it were to be matched with the new signage that was just put up on the rec center addition, that new signage would be approximately 85 square feet for the Vogel Fieldhouse sign. So that's why there are three options. At the June 24th, 2021 meeting, the Planning Commission unanimously recommended approval of the request to allow the additional 185 square feet of exterior signage to the newly constructed recreation center for a total of 700 square feet of signage on the property with two conditions. And I will read those two conditions. Condition one was that the applicant shall contact the city building official once all the signage on the property is installed to verify compliance with the variance amount granted. And then two, if there's any signage above 700 square feet on the property, it would necessitate the need for an additional variance. I should note that beyond the new signage that is being proposed, there are currently two signs that would remain on the property. One is the Steinhauser Park sign that's located at the intersection of Garden and Center Street. That sign is 32 square feet. And then two is the large Vogel Fieldhouse sign on the north side of the building. That's 480 square feet. And then again, the New Ulm Recreation Center wood sign that's located at the south entrance to the existing facility on Garden Street, that sign will be removed. That would conclude the staff report.
Do we have a cost estimate on the if we were to look at option 3?
I do not have a cost estimate, and I would have to refer to the Park and Rec on that.
And then looking at option 3, I talked with Dr. Ann Vogel, and at this point in time, she's okay with us just painting over that sign and doing something else on the interior so we don't have exterior, so we can limit the exterior signage we have on the outside. So whether it's signage above the door as you're walking into the field house or some type of plaque still naming it Vogel Field House, she would be okay with that.
John, could you from the planning commission meeting, we didn't have a record of what, there wasn't a variance when the Vogel Fieldhouse sign was also put in place, correct?
There was no variance.
So we didn't have
at that
any
point.
document on there, because we were already over on the signage already. But we're just trying to correct it now moving forward. And from what Chris Belton had stated and what Tom Schmitz had stated when at the zoning meeting, there was a confusion between the architect and the builder and, bringing the signage, and that's why the signage was installed already currently on the building. So.
I have one other question. I mean, I bring this up every time, the way our sign ordinance is. Eventually, we're going to get it to groove with huge, big buildings, so we don't have to go through these calculations.
Right.
Okay.
I should note that a large majority of the sign variances that the city has granted have been for situations like this, a school, a college, a hospital that are located in residential districts where we only allow 30 square feet
Right.
of signage on the building.
Definitely something needs to get cleaned up.
So what I'm hearing is we're looking at option 3.
I would be fine with going on option 3. I'd support it.
Yeah.
I would support 3.
Approve the request by Chris Dalton on behalf of the New Ulm Park and Rec Department to allow an additional 185 square feet of exterior signage to the newly constructed Recreation Center addition for a total of 302 square feet of signage on the property.
Second.
Motion and a second. Any more discussion? Signal by saying aye.
Aye.
Motion carries. Item number 3.1, appointment to Sister Cities Commission.
And you wanted to go on record as abstaining.
Yes, as abstaining, yes. Item number 3.1, appointment to Sister Cities Commission.
I'll offer a motion to approve Larry Mack to the Sister Cities Commission to fill the unexpired term of Terry Sweeney.
Second.
Motion and a second. Any more discussion?
I think we should point out Larry's doing this as a private citizen, not being assigned it as a counselor.
Got it.
Those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries. Item number 3.2, Vietnam Veterans Monument.
As you noted on your request for action council sheet prepared by Tom Schmitz, my name somehow wound up presented by Dave Christian. Actually, I was at the Park and Rec Commission meeting. Director Schmitz is not here this evening. The assistant director is here, Cheryl Corman. So I believe this is going to be a lengthy discussion. There's people out in the audience want to speak on it, so I will turn it over to the chair.
Thank you. I would like to limit speaking to 3 minutes per individual so that those who would like to speak have an opportunity to do so. Cheryl, you ready?
Thank you, President and Council. As you can see by the action sheet, this request for the Vietnam Veterans Monument to be placed in German Park was unanimously approved by the Park and Rec Commission as well as the Monuments and Cemetery Commission. The overview is in front of you. There's a lot of information. Did you want me to read through that, or do you all have you all read that, or do you need me to go through all of that? What's your preference?
We should have all read the overview and the information on the board and commission recommendations.
The primary issues to consider is that if there is a concern of only honoring New Ulm veterans of the Vietnam War, there is enough space in this section of the park for additional privately funded monuments or benches to honor veterans of other wars. This and other monuments and benches can be located in the contiguous 4 sidewalks in the section to minimize any reduction in green space. And this small section of the park could be considered Veterans or Patriots section. The anonymous donor has made this donation contingent on the fact that it be placed in German Park. If it's decided that it's not, then it would probably not happen. This person also began fundraising campaign for the amphitheater project. It is the same person and would like to remain anonymous.
I do have one question. I read through this a couple of times, talking to some different vets organizations. I do know a few veterans in New Ulm. The New Ulm groups and auxiliaries supporting or expected to support, I mean, do we have the support of the American Legion 132, the VFW, Post 1648? Do we have the support of the Sons of the American Legion, Legion Riders, Comrades of Valor, Military Order, Purple Heart, disabled vets? Because it says or expected to support. That was something new that wasn't brought up at either meeting with the support. Does anybody out there know? I mean, because, I don't want something given to me that expected to support, and then I hear that the DAV, well, we weren't contacted, nobody told us.
Greg Peterson, do you know?
Okay. That's what I'm looking for.
He's the man with the knowledge.
Address for the record.
Greg Peterson, 39442 521st Avenue, New Ulm, Minnesota, 56073. I don't know the last 4 digits. So. But anyway, when that was written, there was one organization that had not yet voted. And I believe, Tom, that was the Comrades of Valor. And the Comrades, at the time, it said, well, we haven't had the chance to vote whether we're going to support it or not, so we'll write in or expected to.
Okay.
But I have spoken to the commander of the DAV, that's Laris Kilmer. He supports it. I'm a member of all the veterans organizations, and I certainly support it. So I think I can speak on behalf of the VFW. And if there's anyone else, the Comrades of Valor, Tom, have they? They voted for it. So, but that's why it was written that way.
Okay, that's just what I wanted clarification on, that yes, they were all contacted. All right.
Thank you.
And I know we have a number of people in the audience that want to speak tonight, so maybe if they raise their hand and the president acknowledges them and they can step up to the counter and.
This is a public meeting. Would anyone like to be heard?
Thank you. My name is Dennis Warder. I live at 812 South Broadway. I've been there in New Ulm 93 years. I really want to thank the donors and all the support that the veterans are giving to this project. As a World War II vet, I would like to see a monument, something like this, in every park or in a park. And with that in mind, I have an alternative that I would like to have the council and other commissions consider before placing it in German Park. I was very much involved in the Friends of German Park for many, many years in the fundraising and so on. And its goal is to have it be a recreational type park. It's got a beautiful amphitheater for plays and productions and concerts. I have a problem with placement of a very emotional monument that might eventually be not seen enough. I've driven through German Street many, many times. You cannot see that site as you drive by, which means that visitors will not see it. That also means that only about 6 months a year will it be seen because it's a summer park. And I have done some research, and I visited with some of you, about an alternate site that is right by German Park, but it would be visible by all the people who come to baseball games, football games, concerts, and everything. And it's the corner of 3rd North and German. There's an area there that is a park. Underneath that is a huge water tank. So it means nothing will ever be built there. But monuments could be built there. For example, a Pentagon 5-sided monument could be built saluting the 5 branches of our military service. It would be seen by everyone. New people coming to town, visitors in town. It's a very prominent place. And also, there would be room there for not only this beautiful and necessary salute to those great heroes in the Vietnam War, but we've got other heroes. And there would be room there to do that, and I'm not so sure there would be room in German Park for that. So with that in mind, I would recommend that the council consider delaying a decision for a few weeks until a committee of volunteers and others could come up with some recommendations as to an alternate site. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Would anyone else care to be heard? We do have a big audience today.
Councillors and chairperson and city manager and everybody in the audience. My name is Ann, C. Vogel. It's spelled V as in Victor, O-G-E-L. I left my water bottle back there, mistake. I'm coming here not to give you my personal opinion. I'm talking on behalf of the Friends of German Park. I was involved when the first initiative was started in 1993, 25 years ago almost. That went on from 93, 94, 95, and in 1996, if you go down to the park and look at that great big rock, it says that's exactly when the ceremony was to open the park up, and enough of the pieces were done in the master plan that now we could have the community come in and enjoy the amenities of the park. With lots of education, we had a whole 12 o'clock until 6 p.m. on August 4th, 1996, and that was the grand opening, inviting everybody. We had lots of musical groups. All of the councillors have gotten the background information because I really thought you need to have the big picture. And the master plan never had anything like a military monument in it. They came up with something called, and I gave it to all of you, it's a packet, and it's readily available. I can give it to anybody. It had 5 initiatives. Each point had a whole page of explanation. How did we get that? We had lots and lots of community meetings. We invited high school kids. We invited the groups that were for, that were against. They had so many pieces to this master plan that the architects who worked with us, finally they had some wonderful landscape architects, said, we can't put all of this in 6.8 acres, but let's whittle it down. And then they sent out surveys, and the master plan was the exact replica of what the people had said they wanted to represent. And again, any of you are interested, I will give you the whole piece of information. I know all the councillors have had the advantage of having that packet that was placed in there, and I asked the city manager if he would please provide them with some background information. I think that the Vietnam Memorial is fantastic. I have asked many times to talk to the anonymous donor, and I was assured that somehow that message was going to get to the anonymous donor, and I haven't heard from that person. Usually it said a he. I don't know if it's a he or a she, and I don't even know where the person's from. I'm assuming from New Ulm. Because I was told that 3 of the 6 names that has been proposed by this individual, I believe, about a mahogany granite monument, which is beautiful, has wonderful verbiage on it. It acknowledges at least 3 of his classmates who graduated from New Ulm High School and died in that war. And then through some research, I was told, and I think that Greg Peterson, and I think he can acknowledge that, was called in to kind of research a little bit about any others, and they came up with 3 more names, right, Greg? That's correct. Yep. Okay, so evidently, the Park and Rec Department head, and I think Greg Peterson know who this anonymous donor is. And I just so much wanted to talk to that person because I can see this wonderful idea, well-deserved, long overdue recognition of people who were treated pretty shabbily when they came back after serving their time on the benefit of us, to have freedom that still rings throughout the country, that project was going to be tarnished by this kind of dissension. And I think what happened is I actually talked to all of the commissioners on the Monument and Cemetery Commission before they met. And I tried to give them the same information I'm giving you now. And I had the sense that they thought that wasn't appropriate to put it in German Park. And I was shocked when I found out that actually they unanimously approved it. And I thought, how did this happen? I was going to go to that meeting and I was real concerned that I would be a liability and people would think I'm talking on my own preference, and that's not why I'm here tonight. I'm here talking on behalf of all those people in 1993, 4, and 5 who offered their opinions and preferences of what that park could be used for, their enjoyment, for the families there and the ones in the future. So, as you think about it, if you had been given that issue, 2 things, they didn't separate them, I'm quite sure. The New Ulm or the Vietnam Memorial, if you had seen Ken Burns' 7-hour presentation, and I was there, and a couple of people I knew were in the library, because Peterson was very instrumental in giving everybody a chance back in our community to see portions of that if you couldn't get in on it. It's long overdue. But then the part that was contentious was where it should be. And it made me feel really uncomfortable that one person, anonymous, and I don't want to blemish that individual's intent, would backfire. So they were voting on the 2 issues.
If you can stick to the 3, we want to give everyone an opportunity to speak.
Hey, thanks for your time, appreciate it.
Who else would like to be heard? Please state your name and address for the record.
Madam Councillor, or President, and Councillors. My name is Tom Resch. I'm a 1967 graduate of Cathedral High School. And I have a prepared statement, if you don't mind.
Sure, certainly.
Only take about half an hour. I'm a combat veteran of the Vietnam War, but for the grace of God, my name is not on this list of 6. They never came home, I did. I came home to hugs, kisses, and handshakes. Their remains came home in caskets covered by the American flag and draped and to tearful relatives and friends. I have monuments. They call me Dad and Grandpa. They never got that chance. I held, hugged, playfully teased, and bounced on my knee my children and grandkids, and I even took them to parks, including German Park. They never got to do that. In my opinion, there are 3 developed parks in New Ulm that are related to the history of New Ulm: Herman Heights, German, and Riverside. Riverside represents human and natural history, and most people go down there for the natural history in the building. Herman Heights is mostly about the ancient history of Herman and how the events of that time changed the future of the world. German Park is dedicated mostly to the human and cultural history of the area. What is said and done here tonight will be some of the history of New Ulm when you read about it in the paper tomorrow. 50 years ago, on the land thousands of miles away, more New Ulm history was made when 6 young New Ulm men lost their lives in the service of this country. In German Park, there are pillars, pavers, and monuments listing the name of individuals, organizations, and companies that supplied hours and riches to make this park what it is today. They are part of the history of this park. They are not all German or Bohemian in nature, or are they part of the founders of this city. If you're worried about vandalism in this monument, we should worry about all the others in the park. There is also a granite monument that honors victims of another conflict in this area 155 years ago. How many pavers and pillars would it take to depict the cost of what these 6 young men gave for the history of New Ulm? I think German Park would be too small. All we're asking for is approximately 8 square feet of ground by the flag. Why we want this in German Park? To honor and remember these 6 young men who sacrificed all that they ever had and ever will, including their family and friends who agonized and still grieve over their deaths. In a roundabout way, to honor all the others who came home from that war, to an ungrateful and indifferent nation. Some of us are still dying prematurely from Agent Orange. And lastly, and perhaps the most important, since the park is a beautiful place where people come to, they will know it is because of veterans like this that we can freely take our kids and grandkids to play, picnic, socialize, and listen to summer music. And when the children see this monument, they will come to understand that while the word freedom has the word free in it, it is not free. Thank you.
Thank you.
My name is Mike Lloyd. I live at 13110 55th Place North in Plymouth, Minnesota. I and my brothers are here. Our brother Dan died in Vietnam in 1969. He graduated from New Ulm High School in 1963. We moved to Mankato in 1963, but New Ulm has always been close to our hearts. So just to, first of all, thank you for considering this monument. I played a small part in the development of the Vietnam Veterans Memorial in Mankato and was asked to speak on behalf of the families of the Vietnam veterans that were honored in that park. So this is close to my heart. I also work at a nonprofit organization in Minneapolis, still serve many Vietnam veterans, many of them who are homeless. So the cost of that war continues to go on in our civilization today, and I see the impact of that. Just a comment, I guess, about a memorial like this. You know, it's really a place of reflection. So it is in part about remembering those who were lost in the war, but it's also about remembering the great cost to this country in every war. You know, there's a tremendous cost in human lives lost, but also in the division and the struggles of the nation. Those of you who are old enough to remember, I certainly am, went through that time period in the history, and the Vietnam War was very divisive in our country, many parallels to what we're going through today. So when I think about this monument, I think about it in a bigger sense than just memorializing those who died. It's a place where people can come and reflect on the struggles of war, reflect on the struggles of our country, and I think, too, can think about, you know, we went through all of that, but we endured that. Democracy continued, and even though we're struggling with those things today, I experienced that this year in the Twin Cities, working there, all the upheaval. I was very much reminded of what we went through during the Vietnam War era. So there's a message in all that about our ability to overcome as a country, too. And so I would suggest, and I hope you'll consider this, that you place the monument somewhere. I hope it is German Park, but somewhere where people will come. Not just because they're there to see, to remember the dead, but to remember all that's entailed with a memorial like that. I look forward to being able to bring my grandson, to have a conversation with my grandson about not just his great uncle and the life of his great uncle, but the struggles of the country. I'm shocked today how little people in younger generations remember about Vietnam. And they certainly don't remember the riots and all the things we went through as a country. So I would hope that a memorial like this can help us remember, and it's something we can share with our next generation. So I would speak affirmatively for it. I hope that at the end of the day of all this, you don't end up alienating your donor, because I think he's doing a great service for your community. So, but thank you, appreciate it.
I have a question for you.
Yeah.
You said that you were involved in the one in Mankato. Was it a standalone, or was it an actual Veterans Memorial
It's
Park?
a Veterans Memorial. It's on Stoltzman Road. It's it's quite a bit bigger than what you're talking about here, and there was quite a bit of funds raised for it.
Right.
But unfortunately, the same issue there. They placed it in a place that wasn't frequently visited. It's its own site. So even today, it doesn't get many visitors, and I would not want that for you. I would want you to put it somewhere where people...
Visible.
It's visible, and people would come and they would have the opportunity to reflect on what that all means. Thank you.
You know, I know it's, all of us were contacted by Mr. Warda, and I know it's premature to put these veterans on right now. I mean, what would be your thought? The city of New Ulm owns a lot of property, prime real estate, if we actually did a Veterans Memorial Park. Just throwing it out there, just. Well, if any of the veterans wanted, I mean, I know we're all proud to have served. I'm a veteran myself. I get the Vietnam Memorial, but if we did it for all, just throwing it out there.
Dave, you're just trying to speak like, I look at the big picture.
Right. Go ahead, Tony.
I can't answer that question. but-
I said you'd have to go back to
Okay.
organizations, but
Address for the record.
My name is
please.
Tony Miller.
Thank you.
I've got a prepared statement, and it'll tell you what my address is and all that. Good afternoon, Madam President and Councilors. Tony Miller from New Ulm, resident at 327 South Valley, in an area affectionately known as Goosetown. We have a councilor that actually lives in that area as well. I'm a proud veteran of the Minnesota Army National Guard, retired in 1997 from the local National Guard unit, one of the 125 Field Artillery with over 20 years of experience of service. I want to mention that I did take a 10-minute presentation, cut it down to 5, and now just within the last couple of minutes, I cut it down to what I hope is 3 or 4 minutes.
Thank you.
So, there's a number of other organizations I'm a part of, but that will take some more time. So I'd like to point out that several of us veterans have attended all 3 meetings with this issue on the agenda. I've even asked Randy Joe Slander to join us at this meeting. He is the brother to Ricky Slander, one of the 6 KIA named on the memorial. He is also a veteran with 30 years of service. Yesterday, I decided to walk through the park to take a look for myself. I read the message on the Bohemian Monument and walked down the steps of the new amphitheater. Before I got to the bottom of the steps, I noticed a monument prominently displayed out in front. It looked similar to the stone marker proposed for the Vietnam Memorial. The words on the front of the monument were "In memory of all who suffered U.S. Dakota War of 1862." I found that very interesting. Took a picture and went home and to gather my thoughts. I've had some conversations with Dr. Ann Vogel and my sister Brenda, and basically I'm going to close with some of these remarks. There's other things that I cut out, but I'll close with these. I'd like to say I believe the German Park is the best location for the memorial, and I also believe that the memorial fits with the Friends of German Park initiative. On page 5 of the initiative, which I've been told you all have received, on page 5 of the initiative, paragraph 2 states as follows. German Park reflects the city heritage in its composition, appointments, and openness. The special corner set aside for remembrance is found at the crosswalk that leads from the Immigrant Monument to the Denk Mall. The park's main gateway goes past the monument dedicated to the memory of the city's large third wave of immigrants, the German Bohemian pioneers. At the other end of the crosswalk, past the fountain and gardens, is the Denk Mall. The German word translates as memorial, which invites the viewer to, quote, stop and remember. Although both monuments, U.S. Dakota War and the Vietnam War, won't be located in the Denk Mall, they still might meet the vision of stop, quote, stop and remember. Page 5 paragraph 5 of the initiative states, on Memorial Day weekend, New Ulm's parade and cemetery ceremony follows with a picnic in the park. At the Denk Mall, a seasonal display features memorial items, plaques, and lists of military service honorees. A tribute to those who gave their lives for the security of our nation and city, close quote. Simply put, a German Park visitor can sit in the amphitheater, in the new amphitheater, look to the left and see the memorial dedicated to all who suffered in the Dakota War, the War of 1862. If the Vietnam Memorial is erected in the current proposed location, the visitor could look to the right and see a memorial dedicated to 6 young men from New Ulm, killed in action in the Vietnam War. I think that fits in rather nicely with the last sentence in the 5th paragraph, quote, a tribute to those who gave their lives for the security of our nation and city, close quote. I was going to read you the inscription included on one side of the monument, but I struggled and it was very emotional. So you all have that picture. And I do have, just, you'll know which one I'm talking about, but it's one of the pictures of the memorial. And on the back side of it, read that. It's very touching. To me, it was emotional. I suggest that you, if you get a chance to read that inscription, it would give you a good picture of this. I'll finish with these words. The Vietnam Memorial belongs in German Park, right next to the American flag. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Miller.
My name is Mark Lloyd. I live at 4 Devonshire Place in Mankato, Minnesota. I'm here with my brothers, and I was hoping you'd let me read a little bit about my brother. Second Lieutenant Daniel Lloyd, son of Georgia Lloyd, late Daniel Lloyd, was killed Thursday in Vietnam. Lieutenant Lloyd was in charge of the 2nd Platoon of A Company, 1st Battalion of 5th Infantry, 25th Infantry Division, fatally wounded from a fragment of an enemy booby trap. Lieutenant Lloyd was born in Mankato in 1945. He graduated from New Ulm High School in 1963. He was a member of the New Ulm High School football squad, active in band, choir, and drama, attended Mankato State College, and graduated in 1967 with a BA degree in political science and history. He was also a member and past president of Phi Delta Theta fraternity. In July 1967, Lieutenant Lloyd enlisted in a 120-day reserve, inducted into the Army October 2nd, 1967, and received basic and advanced training at Fort Dix, New Jersey. Attended Officers Training School at Fort Benning, Georgia. On August 5th, 1968, was commissioned, a second lieutenant. He served as a training officer at Fort Leonard Wood, Missouri, until January of the year. After a month at home, he went for a 2-week jungle training session in Panama, where he qualified as an expert. Lieutenant Lloyd arrived in Vietnam February 26, and after 6 days training at Cu Chi, took over the 2nd Platoon until his death Thursday. Survived by his mother, 3 brothers, Tim, Mike, and Mark, all at home. And he also was posthumously awarded a Silver Star and a Bronze Star. I'd like to thank you for your time.
Thank you.
My name is Tim Lloyd. I live at 2442 Beach Street West in Rosemount, Minnesota. And I thank you guys for letting us get up and talk about this. I don't want any of you to think that we're coming down here and trying to bully you or give us anything other than what we see as the facts. Facts are, our brother was our hero. Okay, our dad died when we were very young. He was our hero. If you've ever had 2 soldiers come up to your house and tell you that your hero's dead, I'm telling you, it changes your life. It really does. Okay. So what I'm trying to get across in this whole thing with the memorials, and I've been to all kinds of them and statues, we don't learn anything. We don't learn a damn thing from these memorials. What we have to do is teach our kids that war is bad. Okay? It's bad. It has to be the very last thing we do. And there are consequences from it. The 3 of us know. I mean, we followed everything our brother did. He was our idol. We all got our college degrees. We all paid for them ourselves, and we followed right in his footsteps. Not everybody has that luxury. He was our hero. He's not only our hero, but he was a hero to the country. 9 days is all he was in Vietnam. Second lieutenant going to Vietnam was a suicide mission. In 9 days, he got a Silver Star, a Bronze Star, and a Purple Heart for saving the men in his platoon. Okay? Now, why can't we learn from that? Go back to Korea and start the progression, okay? You got very few Korean memorials and very few Vietnam memorials for the damage that war did to our country. okay? But we don't learn anything from it. I tell you, I read an article about 5 years ago about this wildlife reserve in Africa, okay? And what they had was they were trying to protect the elephants from the poachers on getting their tusks. So they had all of these young bull elephants in this reserve. And all of a sudden, these elephants went crazy, huge rage, doing a lot of things they shouldn't have been doing, and they were killing the hippos. Nobody could figure out what to do, okay? Nobody could figure out what to do. So the last resort they had was somebody came up with an idea to go out and get 12 older, wiser bull elephants and bring them into the reserve. And within 2 weeks, all the killing stopped. Okay, now they learned from that behavior. Just stop and look at the headlines that we see every day. All of these young kids running around in rage, stealing, killing, they have zero role models. Zero role models. So what I'm trying to get across to you is that wherever you put this, and that German Park spot is an awesome spot. But I'm not going to get in the middle of your politics. What I'm trying to get across to you is put it somewhere where, like myself, can bring my 2 granddaughters and show them that monument. Because I'll tell you what's happening. You're getting girls coming back in body bags now. Okay? I always said back in the Vietnam War, if they made girls sign up for the draft like we did, nobody would have gone to Vietnam. But that isn't true anymore. Because these kids think warfare is a video game. That we sit up 40,000 feet and drop laser-guided bombs on people. But the 3 of us know what happened. When those 2 guys come to your door and tell your mother, she goes into the fetal position, and that's where she stays the rest of her life. We know there's a price to be paid. So what I'm asking you to do is you're missing a golden opportunity to teach your young people about this stuff. Maybe they won't learn about Korea, but there's a lot of these Vietnam guys here who listen, when they came back from that war, it's not like today. They don't have all these syndromes. They ended up in bars and drugs. And I'll leave you, not to go on, but I'll got a throat problem. I used to do quite a bit of business with New Ulm Wholesale, and I came down here, and I got to be pretty good friends with Bruce Wiesner, who, God rest his soul, was a friend of my brother's. So we were sitting down at the Holiday Inn bar, and he pointed over at the end of the bar, and he said, "You know who that is, don't you?" And I said, "No." He says, "That's Randall Craning." And I said, "You're kidding me. My brother worshiped the guy. He said he was the smartest kid in the class. And he looked like he'd been pulled through a knothole backwards. And nobody gave, pardon the French, nobody gave a shit." Okay?
Thank you, Mr. Lloyd.
So I just want you to understand, put it somewhere where the kids can learn from it.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Councillors, Mayor, my name's Roy Yanni. I live at 104 Highview Court in Cortland. I'm a Vietnam veteran, which is pretty obvious. I graduated from New Ulm High School class of 1966. I was right between these guys and the young guys. I was in Vietnam October 68 to October 69, where I was a helicopter crew chief with the Army's 1st Infantry Division. And at least 2 other class members, I and at least 2 other class members are combat wounded. On May 28, 1969, the Journal published a souvenir serviceman's edition. I've got it yet. In that paper I went through, there's 140 servicemen from New Ulm schools, at least. This was in 69 before it started. I would guess that represents only a fraction of New Ulm students that served during the Vietnam time period that lasted 4 more years after this. I did not personally know any of these soldiers from New Ulm that were killed, but remember Dennis Wellman and Dan Lloyd from school activities they were in. They were upperclassmen 3 years ahead of me. Of the 1968 graduates, I only knew Henry Paulzine, who Henry Paulzine was from cruising the streets back then. He was killed while I was in Vietnam, several hundred miles from where I was. I would like to see this memorial built while many of us are alive yet, placed where it is very visible, respected, and easy to view. We have lost many already, but many living, so a cemetery is not the place for this memorial. Are there other memorials in a cemetery for honoring the living? Thank you for your time.
Thank you.
I didn't write anything yet, but anyway,
Can you
I
state your name and
graduated with
address?
Dan Lloyd and Denny Woman. Dan was my good friend. And I didn't find out that he passed away till about 1.5 years after he did. But anyway, I hope you placed a monument in a good place. Thank you.
Thank you.
I think I'll go ahead, Madam Chair, with some of my comments, if you're okay with that. I thought a lot about this. So first of all, I want to thank all the veterans for your service, and secondly, for coming here tonight. For some of you, this certainly wasn't easy. But how wonderful it is that we have a donor that's willing to go out of his way and create this monument to acknowledge the 6 individuals that lost their lives so that we all have freedom here tonight. And so when I heard about this and looked at German Park as the proposed site, and as most of us, sounds like we all kind of went down there and took a look around. I look at the site and I see where the monument proposal is, and it's a fairly small area. I worry that there's a kids' park 100 feet away with lots of noise and enjoyment and laughing, and so it should be. We have a brand-new amphitheater that has weddings, that has public events. We got a shelter that has picnics and activity going on there. And we just got a traditional park that people come to. And I'm guessing, I don't know who the donor is, but I'm guessing that's why that person is picking the spot. He or she wants it in such a location that it's going to be seen. My thought process in trying to think forward on this after it's built is that some of our other groups that are here tonight being represented are going to probably want some type of memorial for their group as well. And I think, yeah, they probably should have that. But even though there's some room there for a couple more, there's not going to be room for everybody. And there's not a lot of green space in that park, flat green space in that park the way it is. So my brain says, well, why don't we think of a better spot? Why can't we, in my terms, blow this up a little bit and make it bigger than what German Park would be? And as some of you have mentioned, have it in a visual spot that you drive by, you're going to stop and you're going to want to see what's going on at that spot. I don't know if we have a location. Mr. Ward has mentioned one. There might be others. But, I sit every day in a county courthouse or across the street from the courthouse, and my view is the county Veterans Park. That's my view out my window. And all day long, people go there. All day long. People stop and are looking and remembering, and they have kids with, and they have family with, and there's older and younger, and it's every single day there's people there viewing that. Because either they drive by and they see it, or it's just something that they're going to stop because they want to see that, what's going on there. So my brain goes to saying, why can't we do that for the city people in our community and have a New Ulm City Veterans Park? A nice one. Not a little corner in the middle of a flagpole in the middle of a very busy park. Something special, something dedicated to veterans in our community, and make it nice. Make it, and you know, veterans are going to fundraise and have allow us to create something magical and of remembrance and of importance. And so I really think that we should table this for a little bit of time to let us look at what are some of those potential options that could be a very visual place for a park like this, the one that Mr. Warden mentioned. But we have a lot of beautiful parks, and we also have a lot of other city land that are not parks that potentially could become a veterans park. Is there any other options? I don't know, but I guess I'd like to find that out. And I think that the donor, and I'm only guessing because I don't know who it is, if their understanding is that we're going to create something pretty decent and very memorializing all the groups that want to put a memorial in there, I would think that that donor would go along with this. I don't know that, but if the purpose is that this person wants it seen, then let's get it in a place where it's going to be seen a lot. You know, if you're, because part of me is like, wow, you take your family down because you want to show them the Veterans Park in German Park, and there's music over here, and there's kids in the playground over here. Or even if you have groups of the school teachers are bringing students down so they can look and learn, as some of you have mentioned. And there's a park right over there that's just a little bit of ways, and they're having a good time. I don't know how much learning is going to happen there. Where if there's a private, dedicated, good location, I think we're going to capture and have more chance at students hearing more about our veterans and what happened with some of these wars. So that's my feeling, that I would like to table this and at least look at other options and see what our city staff could recommend. And maybe even pick a few people from either the audience or a couple of our counselors to sit on a little committee to kind of review some of that. And that's where I'm at tonight with this issue. Thank you.
As the mayor, I'm not allowed to vote or make motions, but I can offer opinions. You took everything I was going to say, Les.
Oh, no, sorry.
But I don't think anybody doubts that the memorial is a good idea, and it should and will happen. Where it goes becomes the issue. And I'm a great one always in many things I do where I think of the concept of precedent. And while the Vietnam Memorial is certainly deserving, the guys from Kuwait and Iraq and Afghanistan and such are going to want their own as well, and they should be entitled to that. And all of a sudden, our cute little German park has become something different. So I like the idea of let's make a veterans park, whether it's where Denny suggested or elsewhere, as you said, let's look at other city-owned land. So I think the idea of a committee that could work on that is probably, in my opinion, the best way to go. There's not a time pressure to do this. You can make the argument that if this stretches out too long, we lose more Vietnam vets, and that's valid and understandable, but I don't see this as going on indefinitely. A decision could be made very, very timely. And I also agree, too, that the donor, again, I'm guessing, I have no clue, is probably going to say, you know, if you guys want to make this into something really cool, I would be behind that. That's a guess.
My guess, too.
You know, a comment I want to make, and I listened real close to what you have all said, and 4 out of the 5 put it in a visual place. You didn't tell me German Park. I said I'm a veteran myself. I respect all veterans, those who served, those who didn't in combat. What if we did say we're not going to drag our feet and make a Veterans Memorial Park where you get more visibility than you would a German Park? I mean, if push comes to shove, I believe this council isn't going to table it. Okay, we own city property. Let's move forward.
Well, just like Dr. Vogel mentioned earlier, too, we took a poll. We got city involvement in 93, 94, 95 for what their envision of German Park was. Why aren't we taking the time to sit back and actually make a respectful park for veterans right now? I mean, this being, I don't want to say bulldozed through, because this needs to happen. The veteran group, I mean, the Vietnam War veterans, my father-in-law is one. It is the most overlooked group of veterans that served. You all deserve a memorial. You all deserve honor from something like this. But like Councilor Schultz, Councilor Christian have mentioned, and Mayor Sweeney, we need to take some time to sit back and actually think about this, of what could better honor our veterans going forward. I mean, this right now is definitely right now, and I mean, if there's a reason the German Park is the definitive place for this, I am all in favor of it. The education that can be there, but if it's just because of site and exposure, we can make a better exposure site than the flagpole at German Park. I know the city could get behind that. And I know I would be in favor of that, and not tabling this for months and years. This is something that should be done. But the other side of this too is, we're here to vote for what the community wants from us. If the community wants this, this is what we should do. But if the community would rather have a New Ulm Veterans Memorial Park, that's what we should do, to honor all of them, as well as this particular memorial. Those are my thoughts on this.
I'm going to concur with the other councilors and Mayor Sweeney, but we still haven't heard from the community at large yet either on this subject. You know, and I'm a firm believer in trying to do things right. And, you know, from when the council just found out about this, I mean, from going from the Park and Rec meeting to the Cemetery and Monuments Commission, you know, less than 60 days, and we have to make a huge decision. Where we spent years trying to develop a park, have a master plan, and try to do things thorough. You know, the input wasn't there 25 years ago for putting a Veterans Memorial down there, but I'd like to hear from more of the community and, you know, get a committee together, whether it's a couple staff and councilors and people from the audience, and look at the big picture, what ifs and how we could recognize everybody. Because I've heard from other groups that I would like to be recognized for, you know, Iraq or et cetera. So I'd rather table it, but I don't want to table it indefinitely. You know, let's take action on it.
Is there a representative from any service group that would speak to the idea of a Veterans Memorial Park in New Ulm?
Mr. Peterson, you got an opinion on that? Because you're the furthest back in the corner, that's why
Mr. Miller, please.
I'm getting a little frustrated, and I am sorry for that. No. But I'm hearing a lot of things saying the Veterans Memorial is definitely, these veterans need to be recognized and it's long overdue. But the only thing that I hear about the opposition to it is the location. We've given you a lot of examples of why we think that would be a good location. Mm-hmm. If you want to table it and make a committee or something, I'd be happy to be a part of that committee. But I want you to remember one thing here. Everything that you've said about these other organizations that are veterans organizations that want their own memorial, you got to remember, we're talking 6 guys from Vietnam that passed away, that were killed in action. In action. We're not talking about all kinds of veterans from all over the United States that served in Vietnam or in Gulf Desert Storm. How many people, can someone answer something for me? How many New Ulm veterans were killed in action over the last 50 years, 100 years? Can somebody give me that number? Right now, the only thing I can think of is 6.
Well,
thank you, Greg.
That's right. I don't have the exact number for New Ulm because I do represent the county, but I have a spreadsheet on my computer, and we have about 87 in the county. Now, as far as New Ulm, there's other famous names. Who's the Legion named after?
Seifert Bianchi.
Yep. Those
2 of them.
Seifert was killed in World War I, first one. Roosevelt Bianchi in World War II. VFW, any VFW members here know who their post is named after? Nagel, Albert Nagel. Buried in France right now. So it's not a whole bunch. I know there's one from just last week was the 25th anniversary of the bombing of what's called the Khobar Towers. It was in Saudi Arabia. And it was a giant apartment building, much like the one in Florida that terrorists bombed. And there was one man, of 25 that were killed there, one was born in New Ulm. He didn't grow up in New Ulm, but you know, we've got our list board down quite a bit, so we're looking at less than 100, well, countywide, less than 100 names of those. who were-
Citywide.
Citywide? I'd have to look at my
okay.
spreadsheet, but yeah.
See, the idea that what I was trying to bring across is, we're talking New Ulm. These are New Ulm high school graduates that were killed in action in Vietnam. Now, if we want to do a committee, if you decide you want to do a committee, like I said, I'd be glad to be a part of it. But that committee needs to come up with rules. If the committee decides that German Park is a good park for this, and that monuments can be placed there, there needs to be rules. They need to be died in a conflict in combat. And then the names can come out from that. But in this particular case, one of my questions is, a monument was erected for people that suffered during the Dakota War. Nobody asked any questions then. Why are all of a sudden the questions coming up when the Vietnam Memorial's coming up? I don't get it. That should have been asked back when that monument was suggested and then explained, okay, this is not a park for memorials. That you need to find a different place for memorials like that. So I'm confused as to why we're having a discussion about something that has already been approved once, and now all of a sudden the Vietnam Memorial is going in, and there's more questions about it. Is that the location for it?
Thank you.
I'm confused.
Thank you, Mr. Miller.
Thank you.
A comment that I do have on that, I mean, I got a chance to talk to some Korean vets who are aging and whatnot. What I'm thinking is, okay, we vote tonight, yes, the Vietnam Memorial, well deserved. I mean, like I said, I respect them all. So what do we tell the Korean vet? No? Too many? The Doughboys, World War I, right? I don't believe we have a World War II dedicated monument, do we? No. What do we tell them? I mean, I agree with you 100%. Put it somewhere people can see it. I just think it's going to be a ripple effect. There's other organizations, guys who served, they were not killed in action. I respect them just as much. I mean, you guys out there, I know you saw the pay dirt. That's the part I'm getting at with, do we just rush to get it in a German park, or
What's the long-term effect?
what's the long-term effect? That's what I'm looking at. I would not want to be up here and say no to a Korean group from the Korean conflict while no, we're running out of space. Go find another place. And I don't know how you all feel about that. I wish you'd come to the mic and say it.
My only issue on this from the very beginning is we don't change anything. What you're doing is putting a memorial to something we can't change. So we got Korea, we got Vietnam, we got all this Middle East stuff. And now we're right in the same boat in Afghanistan that we were in Vietnam and Korea. We learned nothing. So how do we teach the young people?
And we hope to do that, but that's not for today. I'm sorry, Mr. Lloyd.
No, but I'm just saying, when you start looking at
Yes,
locations,
and
someplace where the kids are.
we understand. Did you want to be heard? Name and address for the record.
Dave Weldy, 919 17 South. Myself, I'm a Desert Storm vet. Would the option be to place this the Vietnam veteran monument there while we work on a bigger grand scheme of something? George's Ballroom, a lot of space.
Believe me, I thought of it when I was coming. There, we'll take it from the county.
Make one more comment. Tony recognized that other memorial that's down in German Park, and perhaps when that was done, it wasn't, thought through, and maybe we have to take a big look at our Cemetery and Monuments Commission. That monument also could be moved, too, and when we're looking at the big scope of the picture.
I would just like to state some comments for the record. I've spent a lot of time looking through this, talking with individuals, reading through information that I've been provided over the last couple of days. And really, this is what's come to us. It was unanimously approved by the Cemetery Commission. It was unanimously approved by the Park and Rec Commission. I spoke with the head of the Park and Rec today, and he believes that it is an acceptable and appropriate use and will not affect the current or future use of the park. I've been tying back, I see here, New Ulm groups, auxiliary supporting or expected to support, American Legion Post 132, VFW Post 1648, Sons of the American Legion, Legion Riders, Comrades of Valor, Military Order of Purple Heart. in the DAV Chapter 15. I'm all for forming a committee, but this is not something that I want to take months and years to do. We're already splitting hairs about parks that we want to put in Upper Cottonwood Street. You know, where are we going to be finding the money for all of this stuff? We have someone that's here, that's ready to donate, that the precedent in my mind has already been set with the monument that's down at the park right now. You're right, we need to honor these veterans while they're here and they're alive. And I'm not opposed to putting it in German Park. I'm also not opposed to finding another plan to honor all of the veterans, like Mr. Weldy said. I think that there is room right now for both. Thank you.
My only comment, Madam Chair, is that we don't know what these groups, if they would support a dedicated veterans memorial park in another location in our community. So they were given this proposal, but not, at least I'm assuming that this other topic was not really addressed with any of them, that they might consider that this might be a better option than German Park in a more visual location, so.
I know I'm coming on for the second time, and I was told I had 3 minutes, but I see that Tony Miller got
Yes,
an
you
extra
can
second
just-
chance,
yep,
so I
go-
guess.
you got
and
3
I can talk
minutes.
really fast and prefer
3
not
minutes.
to, so
Thank you.
people can at least
Yes.
understand what I'm saying.
Yes.
So, my comment on this is I heard somebody talk about Randy Craning. I am eternally thankful that his name came up. I want you to know that it's not just people who died in the Vietnam War. It's people whose minds were destroyed, their soul and their mind, when they came back. The PSTD is a big deal, and I actually had the privilege of taking care of Randy at the end of his life, and I know how that life came apart. So I just want you to know that it's for other people, and I certainly giving your life is all you can give. But some of these people with post-traumatic stress disorder, it's horrendous. And yes, he was very intelligent. He was the second highest scoring student in law school at the University of Minnesota, and he got sent over and thought he knew German. And he was so intelligent that they made him an interpreter for the Vietnamese. And I can tell you the stuff that happened to him, I'm not privileged to say, but it was very apparent to me that this fellow lived a hellish life to the very end, and he still was grateful. Thank you.
Thank you.
One final thought on this. The issue is not having a memorial to those who died in Vietnam. The issue really is where should it be placed and at the most visible place. Some of the heroes did not die. If you want to see a great Veterans Memorial, visit the one right on Main Street in St. Peter. And there is a separate panel that lists all of those killed in action. And the first one on that panel is a Mr. Dowd, who died right on our Minnesota street here in 1862 in the Indian War, and he's mentioned there with his photograph. Thank you.
Thank you.
My name is Mert Gustad, 108 Camel's Back Road. Lived in New Ulm for 49 years, half of Denny's life. I think the issue is, you got an offer on the table, and I hear talk of a grand scheme of all kinds of memorials. Have both. I think you have to deal with what's on the table now. Thank you.
I'm going to go ahead and offer a motion, but before I do so, I want to make it really clear that I'm not saying no to German Park. I'm just saying I want to take a look before we, as a council, make a final decision, to see if there is another location that is more visual and would be acceptable to the donor. And if it's not, and we come back and it's German Park, then let it so be. But I think we do have an obligation as a council to see if this bigger idea will catch, will progress. And so I'm going to offer a motion to table this item for further information. I would request that a committee be set up to take a look at alternatives. if, I would recommend this committee be 5 or 7 people, and people that are interested in being part of this committee to contact city staff, and city staff can make a decision on who, to try and get a global representation of those that did call in to be representative of the community. So that's my motion. We'll see if it goes anywhere.
I'll second it.
Motion and a second. Any further discussion?
For the committee, what is the time frame you're looking at? 30 days, 60 days, come back first meeting in September?
Well, part of it will be city staff, because certainly I would assume my young man here to my left has probably got pretty good knowledge of what available spaces are in the community, or maybe our Mr. Nisley in the back there somewhere can probably pretty easily pull up what's available in the city of New Ulm, and is there any eligible spots? And then when I would assume, kind of like we did with the city of New Ulm signs, we all hopped in a van and we drove out to the locations to see what made the most sense and what were the pros and cons of each individual site. And I would assume this committee would do the same thing and bring back their verbal or written report back to the council. How long it takes, I guess that's up to schedules. Like I said, with our Madam Chair, I don't want to drag this out either, but also, sometimes that takes a little time to get everybody's schedule together. So I don't know if I want to put a time limit on it, because
I really would like to. I feel like this has been something that has been discussed for some time, and I have all of the information here that we need to make a decision. Again, it's been stated that German Park is an acceptable and appropriate location and will not affect the current and future use of the park. I do agree with Mr. Gusted that we can have both. But I'm not opposed to forming a committee. I just want a really strict timeline on it because I want to move forward with
put
this.
60 days on it?
I'm going to agree with the timeline, because yes, people, councils can drag their feet. I don't want to drag our feet on this. And I do want to make a comment about, we heard from the vets organizations, whatnot. We're all elected up here. I know we all got contacted by numerous citizens of New Ulm. I know I did. Some were very in favor of German Park, some were not. That's not what the park was built for. Now there goes the city again, changing the use of the park and whatnot. When the topic came up about, let's not drag our feet, okay, all veterans from wars or served or whatnot deserve it, especially those killed in action. I'm all for it if I can come up with a better place to put it visible, which I heard numerous of you people say, more visible. I'm for that. I am. And yet, don't drag our feet.
I would say give me to the second meeting in September then. Is that okay?
Yes.
Yes. Motion and a second. Any more discussion? Director Jorgensen, please call the roll.
Okay.
Oh,
It's not a resolution anymore.
Oh, I
so-
guess it's not a resolution anymore. Okay, those in.
Motion now.
That's a motion. Those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, motion carries. Thank you for those who came and shared their stories today and for your time. We appreciate it. We know it's an emotional time, and we do want to recognize you as veterans. Thank
And
you.
then anyone who wants to be on the committee, email me at chrisd@newulmmn.gov, and I'll put you on the list. Clay, can you
Or just
include
call the
that in
city
your story?
manager.
Yeah, either one.
Thank you. Item number 3.3, B&L Bar Alley Closure, Bavarian Blast and Crazy Days.
Council President, councilors, before you have the annual request from the BNL to close the alley during Bavarian Blast and Crazy Days. We've granted this alley closure in prior years, and they will, and the BNL will comply with all regulations that have been set before them prior to, for its other closings.
I'll offer the
Yeah, go ahead.
I'll offer the resolution, waive the reading to temporarily close the alley next to the establishment for the following events: Bavarian Blast, July 16th, and Sunday, July 18th, Crazy Days, July 23rd, and July 25th, at the time stated on the request.
Yeah, and there, go ahead.
Madam President, Councilor Schultz, as written, this talking about 2 days, and I think the applicant
Yeah.
actually wants
It's,
Through.
yeah, it should
Yeah, I
be
think it
through,
should be
but we
through.
copied his verbiage. Yeah, it should be Friday through Sunday. It's 5 PM on Friday to Sunday, 1:30 AM.
And then also, Counselor, in the application indicates he is willing to commit to access being allowed solely through the bar. If you could impose that as a condition.
Oh,
I
sure.
think that would comply with our requirements.
All right, so the dates being, or I already mentioned the dates, beginning Friday at 5 PM to 1:30 AM on Sunday, and authorize the extension of the B&L bar liquor license into the closed alley on the requested dates, subject to conditions. And do we have conditions?
Yeah, B&L places traffic barriers on each end of the closed alley area. B&L does not block access or egress of businesses adjacent to alley. Alleys should be cleaned up. And then Roger's final condition, that access is only through the bar.
Included those. Thank you.
Okay, second.
Motion and a second. Any more discussion? Please call the roll.
Sorry, I was adding the condition. Counselor Mack?
Yes.
Counselor Schultz? Yes. Counselor Christian?
Yes.
Counselor Warmka?
Yes.
President Becker?
Yes, motion carries. Item number 3.4, revision to Appendix A of the New Ulm Fire Department Relief Association bylaws.
Thank you, Madam President, City Councilors. Joseph Stadheim, New Ulm Fire Department Relief Association, where I serve as secretary. Before you today, the New Ulm Fire Department Relief Association is proposing an increase to their benefit level of $750 per year of service for a total of $5,750 per year of service for the active members, and a $1 per month per year of service increase for our monthly retired pensioners, which we have 7 of. The other information provided is we performed our actuary benefit study. Our funding level is 150%. By going with the proposed increases, it would bring our funding percentage to 134%, still overly funded to accommodate fluctuations in the market with our investments. Historically, we've performed very well with our rates of return, and the association unanimously recommended this be brought to City Council. Take any questions you may have.
Madam President, I just want to announce that Eric Warmka is our council member on the relief board. I'm the actual one of those 7 that sits on the board, retired. So this time it does affect my pension plan, so I will be abstaining.
Thank you, Counselor Christian.
I know in the years that I've sat on this council, we've been very supportive of law enforcement, of our fire department folks, and continue to be so. We need our volunteer fire department. We need to make sure that people want to continue to be firemen. And with that, I'm going to offer the resolution, waive the reading, to revise Appendix A of the New Ulm Fire Department Relief Association bylaws, changing the pension benefit level to $5,750 per year of service for the active members, and $1 per month per year of service increase for the monthly retired members of the New Ulm Fire Department Relief Association to become effective January 1st, 2022.
Second.
And a second. Any more discussion?
Anything
Director.
on your end, Councilor Warmka, as far as your involvement with this group?
No, it was a little bit of a heated debate at fire meeting, but
Yeah.
it was unanimously decided upon
the
that
end?
that was appropriate, and it is appropriate use of those funds, so,
Okay.
yeah.
Thank you. Any more discussion? Director Jorgensen, please call the roll.
Counselor Mack?
Yes.
Counselor Schultz?
Yes.
Counselor Warmka?
Yes.
And President Becker?
This motion carries. Item number 3.5, MLC signage request.
Madam President, City Councilors, this request came to us from Martin Luther College and the construction of their new field house that is off of Becker Road. They are requesting wayfinding signage to be placed on both sides of the intersection to point out-of-town visitors to that field house. The signage would be paid for by Martin Luther College and installed by city staff.
I'll make a motion, offer a resolution, waive the reading, authorizing the installation of a wayfinding signage for the Martin Luther College Fieldhouse on Betker Road as presented.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any more discussion? Director Jorgensen, please call the roll.
Counselor Mack?
Yes.
Counselor Schultz?
Yes.
Counselor Christian?
Yes.
Counselor Warmka?
Yes.
President Becker?
Yes, motion carries. Item number 3.6, CSAH 37 Welcome Sign Relocation Contract.
Madam President, City Councilors, as at a previous work session, I brought this item to you. The existing Welcome to New Ulm sign on Casat 37 needs to be relocated prior to the MnDOT Highway 14 expansion project beginning in 2022. Staff prepared and solicited quotations for this work and received one quote for that work, and that was for Robert W. Karlstrom Company out of Mankato in the amount of $27,250. It should be noted that PUC has estimated about $1,500 to run power to the light, at the proposed site. So that would be a separate amount, but would be as part of that project as well. Talking with the finance director, we could use fund balance for this small project.
Thank you.
I have some concerns with this bid, being one, that we only got one, and two, that it's crazy high to move a sign. So would it be advantageous to re-advertise or rebid it?
When we had to move the sign out at Casat 12, that we had to move that sign 6 feet, and it was $11,000. I feel like this is a very good quote. I was expecting closer to $50,000. The sign needs to be moved as one unit, so they have to excavate the entire sign, footing and all. They have to core drill through and lift the sign with a crane, put it on a trailer haul, excavate a new site, and
Or the cement for the base?
they'll just excavate and place the sign and then recompact earth around it. It'll be moved footing and all. So
Similar to what was done with the New Ulm City Cemetery sign. It was lifted out in one piece.
All of our other signs are the base. There's a lot of cement under that base.
It's 4.5 feet thick, the city cemetery sign. They did it in one piece.
it's that
Do it.
It's the reason for the cost is pretty much that crane rental to lift and set. So
My other question then, we talked about moving it to the putting green area. Are we talking about making that a permanent location? That's what I hear you saying, and
that would be my intent, yes.
Once they redo that route, when I was part of the original committee, when we looked at this, we wanted to welcome people into New Ulm, not welcome them after they're already in town. And so we made a very specific decisions that when we found these 4 locations, that they were all going to be outside of town. So is there any thought that, or maybe we're too far down the road to wait and see, move it because we have to temporarily, but then look at what the new streets look like and put it back out somewhere on welcoming people into town?
From what I got from the work session is the reason I picked the location, which I did, for the relocation. We could certainly put it out on a different location on Casat 37, and that was a proposed location during that work session, but I took the... But we could certainly pick a new, would assume the cost would be very
Well,
similar.
we couldn't pick anything now because we'd have to wait till all the development was done. If we were to put it back out somewhere where it is now.
We were running into higher electrical problems with that too, having it moved or kept out.
It's true, yeah.
And Nicollet County problems.
Yep.
We had some of that with our other signs when we
So
first set them up.
After the work session, I didn't pursue any discussions with Nicollet County since I got direction to move it into town.
Yeah, I know.
so.
I thought at the work session, we discussed it a little bit,
It's all right, I can still vote
Mr.
no.
Stadheim had stated that we'd have to have their plan approved by MnDOT, and a proposed site, I thought Joe came back with was kind of because they're relocating the Eckstein Landing, and, that
Right.
also, and it was just tying it all together, and then we ultimately were kind of at the work session. We couldn't make a decision, but we had discussed the putting green area just over the bridge.
It might be a small detail, but we're no
we don't have
longer
to move it
welcoming
again.
people into town at that direction because they're already in town.
Welcome, you're here.
You're here, you made
My
it.
fellow committee members back then would not be approving this, but that's all right.
I mean, I can certainly send out, we can, MnDOT did offer to include a site that would be graded for the new sign, but it would take more coordination, but we could certainly do that as well, if that's the council's wishes, so. Or work with Nicollet County to find an appropriate site as well.
And I think from what you said, where this site is, it would not deter any future development or somebody was to buy that property and put up a hotel or put up something. We're not gonna have a sign problem.
We would most likely need to either create an easement, if that property is ever sold, or parcel out that sign location. But, because it is outside of the 20th South right away. So it is on the Putting Green property.
And it is within Brown County, so you don't need to worry about that.
Correct, yeah. Yeah, it's not on a Brown County roadway, so we don't need their approval.
I know it's a lot of money, but I'd like to offer a motion to award the contract for CSAH 37 Welcome Relocation Project to RW Carlstrom Incorporated in the amount of $27,250.
I'll second it.
Second, any more discussion? Those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Item number 3.7.
Andrea, I still need to call a roll when
Oh,
there's a
sorry.
dissenting vote.
Yes, Director Jorgensen,
Mack?
please call.
Yes.
Counselor Schultz?
No.
Counselor Christian?
Yes.
Counselor Warmka?
Yes.
President Becker?
Yes, motion carries. Item number 3.7, temporary residential only parking at 27 North Front Street.
Council President, councilors, before you have another request for temporary parking on Front Street due to the reconstruction down at the Hanska Co-op, Firmenich is not able to use the dirt lot out there. So workers are now parking in the neighborhood, which, again, on-street parking is public parking, so anyone can park there. But the resident at 27 North Front Street would like temporary parking. We did grant temporary parking when Firmenich was doing construction out there. And additionally, I would like the council to authorize painting 50 feet of curb from the railroad track moving down. We have a lot of issues, and that would be on First North up there. A lot of issues with workers and residents parking close to the railroad track, and so painting that yellow will deter people. And when parking enforcement goes down, they'll be able to see that they should be ticketing those individuals parking within the yellow curb.
And a comment, being this, we've dealt with this before, I actually witnessed a ticket being written, and our parking enforcement, they are doing their job. I mean, the gentleman was complaining about that. They are issuing tickets for parking in front of the fire hydrant. They're issuing tickets parking too close to the railroad right away. I myself, is it possible to include, people, visionary distance for them, the fire hydrant? Do we also just do it yellow? Hey, you're too close.
Yeah.
I know we normally don't have to do that, Joe, but down here, workers are doing it daily.
Yeah.
3 feet from the hydrant,
We do have, there's other hydrants, I can't think of a location off the top of my head, but we have done that in the past.
Okay.
So then I would just amend the authorized painting the curb on the railroad tracks to include the fire hydrant as well.
On my word, authorize temporary residential only parking 27 North Front and authorize 50 feet of curb along First North Street adjacent to railroad track to be painted yellow, including the fire hydrant located on the north side of the street.
Second.
Motion and a second. Any more discussion? Those in favor say aye.
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 Opposed? Motion carries. Item number 3.8, abatement options for unsafe structure at 1007 North Minnesota Street.
Council President, councilors, in front of you is some options of taking care of a delinquent building at 1007 North Minnesota. As you can see in the overview, we've been dealing with this property for the last 3 years, dealing with snow, lawn mowing, and most recently, part of a chimney falling last winter. In the utilities have been shut off on this particular home since 2019. Taxes haven't been paid since 2019, and forfeiture date is May of 2023. We're looking at repairing or taking the chimney down, fixing the roof, and going along with that and starting the abatement process. The costs of approximately $1,000 to $1,500 to take care of the chimney and the roof area, and the demolition approximately $30,000 in today's figures.
Thank you.
This house is in my ward, and I've heard about it quite a bit from neighbors, and this is a problem. It is an eyesore. It is something that hasn't been touched, and the neighbors in the area are very concerned about it, and I strongly feel for them. This is an eyesore in the middle of an area. They have people that take pride in their homes. They're older homes, but they take great pride in their yards and their homes, and this is just making it awful for them to have to be around, so.
I live a block away from it,
Mm-hmm.
and it's ridiculous. I was ticked off just living a block away and called City Hall to see what could be done. Carrie, are you prepared to talk? Is it appropriate if I ask her to come up? She's a neighbor.
Absolutely.
I mean, if she'd like to be heard, yes. Mhm. Just state your name and address for the record, please.
My name is Carrie Barron, and I live at 1015 North Minnesota Street, so just 2 houses from this house. This house is a disaster. It was a disaster when I bought my house. I bought my house years ago. I've lived in that neighborhood. It has not gotten better. It has not been maintained. It has not been fixed. It just continues to deteriorate. Living in the neighborhood, there's glass. If you have any kids or anything that runs around, there is broken glass in that backyard. I have a little puppy. He got away from me the one day. He's licensed with the city, but he got away because he went chasing the rabbits that live very much all over that property. I had to go in there. I was walking on broken glass trying to get my puppy back out of that yard because it's terrible. There is mice everywhere. There is rats everywhere. You go down there at night, you can come visit my neighborhood 2 houses from me, and it is horrible. We don't have, in that house, absolutely. I heard him say snow removal, yes. Grass, yep. Weeds, whatever you want to say. The house is not maintained. And we do take pride in our neighborhoods. And we take pride in what we're doing. The rabbits are making me very angry because I pride myself in my plants and my garden, and they're being chewed up constantly. And I put out, the powder to try and chase away the rabbits, but when they're constantly there, and it's this little ones, and then they're this big, and then they're this big, and then we've got little ones again like this. And that's all been this summer. It's a tough piece to deal with, and I've only seen the house, as I said, deteriorate. Over the years I've owned my house, it's just gotten worse. And when I first moved there, the house was not owned by the current person, and it was bad at that point. I even was there. I am the director of Pro Kinship for Kids. We were doing United Way Day Caring. We were assigned that house. I walked the first time into that house to talk to the older lady that was living there at that point, wondering if I was going to break through the floorboards in her porch as I tried to get to the door so that we could try and do the Day of Caring event for United Way. This has been the history of this house. Thank you.
Thank you.
And I'm well aware of the history with the house and no problem making these motions, but I do have a question for legal counsel. Okay, I know we can do the chimney, the fix repair, but the process when we condemn it, I mean, only in America, yeah, we can go to one courtroom, but will he have the chance to appeal this also? a second chance.
Thank you, Counselor. I was going to, Madam President and the other counselors, I was going to indicate that if the council decided to move ahead with demolition, I think as part of that process, and we've done this in the past, we would seek a court order that would authorize and direct it. If we don't do that, there's a possibility of ramifications. That does mean it's going to drag it out a little bit to get it done, but we want to have the authority of the court, and yes, the owner could come in. The owner has not done anything thus far.
Correct.
But if he was going to come in and complain and indicate that there were reasons to not have the house demolished, he could have the right to do that. But I think the threat otherwise would be if we just go ahead and demolish it without the authority of the court, we're going to get into questions about what was the house worth and damages and things like that. So it really is a legislative decision. You can do the cheap temporary fix to maybe make it a little safer, but the rest of the problems apparently are going to continue.
I just wanted you to, I mean, it's not going to be the city dragging their feet. It's a lengthy process. I've been through that.
You got to start sometime.
It's a lengthy process that needs to start. So I'll be the one to make a motion to approve the process of condemning the structure at 1007 North Minnesota Street.
Second.
Motion and a second. Any more discussion?
Can we also get an approval for fixing the failing chimney?
Yes, we need the and.
We should, okay.
Forward up. Life safety issue.
And, what's that?
We need both pieces in the motion.
Oh, and approve the abatement of the failing chimney and securing the home at 1007 North Minnesota Street.
Second again.
Motion and a second. Any more discussion?
Question on,
Why is there an
I
and?
drove by it right before I came to the meeting tonight, and the yard hasn't been mowed in years, I would assume. There's, so are we going to do anything with that as well, or?
Have to speak on that.
Or can we? Because there's so many of those branches that I was seeing. You can only see the wall of one side of the house because everything's so overgrown in there.
President, Councilors, Jeff Huffman, City of New Ulm, Street Superintendent. In it, we've sent him many weed notices, and we get returned to sender. And we have them all on file. We've mowed it, every 7 days. He's got 7 days to mow it after we send him the weed notice, and it's not been mowed. We've mowed it probably 3 times already this year.
And do we do it in the winter too, the snow removal? Yeah, I would assume we do. Okay. Probably not as good as we should because the neighbors would probably like it a little sooner, I would assume. But, all right, thank you.
Just add, since I've been on the council, we've had this every year at the end of their assessment roll, putting on snow and the lawn with this one. And, staff has said since 2019, but I think we have to look a little bit back on the history. This has been probably 10 years because, he was behind before and made things current, but it hasn't
We've talked about
improved.
this before, that there's old homes like this in every one of our wards. And my understanding what pushed this one over the edge was the falling chimney that rolled onto the neighbor's property, right?
Correct.
Correct. Yeah. That's what kicked this into gear.
Does anyone ever inhabit the home?
No?
No, it hasn't been inhabited for a number of years.
And so this is definitely a safety issue with the rodents and with potential kids looking for, to get into trouble and things like that. The owner of the home, does he live around here? Does anyone
He
know?
does live around, he lives in town.
He lives in town.
He's made no contact with me. We actually had him serve the letter stating what needed to be fixed and to make contact with our office.
That's very unfortunate. Okay. That's all I have. We have a motion and a second. Any more discussion? Those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Item number 3.9, ordinance number 2021-045, 5th series, first consideration for trapping.
Madam President, this is a matter that the council considered and discussed at a work session. As presently written, the city code prohibits any trapping of any sort in both subdivision 6 and 7 of section 802 of the code. That would apply to everything from gopher traps to mouse traps to rat traps to live traps. And I don't think that's consistent really with what people are doing or what the council would probably want to allow. So the proposed amendment to the ordinance would basically continue to ban traps, which would presumably be leg traps, and excluded as not being traps would be the items that are listed, which would be live traps and any mechanical device designed for the capturing or killing of mice, rats, moles, and other small rodents. So people could still dispose of those types of critters and gophers and do it legally. If they would use a live trap, it has to be on property that they own, so they can't put it on somebody else's land. It also has to be checked at least twice each 24 hours. If an animal is caught, it has to be promptly and appropriately removed. So what the effort was in drafting this was to try to come up with something that would meet the needs of the community, to legitimately deal with pests and do it in a humane manner, but allow people to have their property taken care of, but be complying with our law. So it's just the first consideration. If you wanted changes, this would be a time to let me know.
I think it's good. Let's catch those rabbits.
Gonna have a problem.
Oh, thank you.
Make a motion to conduct the first consideration of ordinance number 2021-045, fifth series, amending section 8.20 subdivision 6 and 7 of the New Ulm City Code of the City of New Ulm relative to trapping.
Second.
Motion and a second. Any more discussion? Those in favor say aye.
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 Opposed? Motion carries. 3.10, Park and Rec donations.
Okay, at the May 10th and June 14th, the Park and Rec unanimously recommended approval of proposed action. That's offer the resolution, waive the reading, accepting donations offered to the City of New Ulm through the Park and Rec Department as outlined. German Park Amphitheater, $50 from Thomas Campbell. German Park Paper Stones, $150 honoring Merlin Frank from Carla Stelgis Evans, and $200 honoring Lindsay Overbay from the New Ulm Middle School staff and Michelle Miller. German Park Amphitheater Flowers, $200 from Herbie Hedgehog and Gertie the Goose. Trees in memory of David Beck, $60 from Dick and Diane Hesse, Kay and Dave Rath, Jan and Tom McClure, and Marilyn Hesse. Riverside Park Building window replacement. This is actually the total. At the last meeting, we accepted that first $10,000. This is actually the total that the gentleman was giving for it. Riverside Park replacement, $20,180 from Dwayne and Cleo Boney. Riverside Park Environmental Learning Center programming, $500 from the Lions Club, $500 from the New Ulm Area Sports Fishermen. Grand total of $21,840 in cash.
I'll second the motion.
We have a motion and a second. Any more discussion?
The new mayor will be busy.
Lots of thank yous to
Do
go
I have
out.
to send letters?
Yes. Director Jorgensen, please call the roll.
Councillor Mack?
Yes.
Councillor Schultz?
Yes.
Councillor Christian?
Yes.
Councillor Warmka?
Yes.
President Becker?
Yes, motion carries. Item number 3.11, cell phone and monthly fees for the mayor.
Councilors, before you have a cell phone request for the mayor, as the mayor is not a city employee, I can't authorize him to have a phone that comes before the council. So there is no cost for the cell phone. It is just the monthly costs, taxes and fees, which would be $24.39 a month.
I'll authorize the city manager to purchase a city cell phone for the mayor and pay the monthly fees.
Second.
Motion and a second. Any more discussion?
Does it carry an expectation that I'll use it?
Answer all calls.
Most
Guess century
definitely.
It's also poking on the marquee out here in the City Hall parking lot, his number.
There you go, there you go.
Motion and a second. Any more discussion? Those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Terry, you will now have a cell phone.
Oh, boy.
Item number 4.1, reports of claims paid.
I'll offer a motion to accept the list of claims paid in the amount of $5,445,281.19.
Second.
Motion and a second. Any more discussion? Those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. With no additional business, this meeting is adjourned.
EYC lady? When?